One keeper.
I just didn't want to go on.
Seeing as that's 4:45, we call the Park and Rec meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda?
Make sure everybody is looking at the amended agenda that came out. So there was number 8 was added that you can see up on the screen in red. So amended agenda is the only thing that's different than the original.
I look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the job to the public input.
Gentlemen in the back, could you please sign in too if you have not? Thank you.
Okay, we got a joint meeting with the Cemetery Commission to discuss the use on the access options for the parcel behind the Floral Hill. Chad?
Yeah, we talked.
Chad, can I call our commission?
Oh,
Yes,
should probably do that.
absolutely. You're right.
All right, call the cemetery. I'm vice chair, by the way. Call the cemetery commission to order. I don't think we have anything else on it for, all right. We're in session.
Sorry about that.
No
Thought about that a
problem.
couple minutes ago and then
No,
started rocking, so.
no problem.
So the Park and Rec Committee, as you guys know, we had a kind of a discussion or an update last month regarding the use of bike trails in the community. We've had worked with several individuals from the community that are interested in assisting with the development of some bike trails. We've talked about the option of using the parcel that's south of Floral Hill Cemetery. We've also talked about some other parcels with that. And the Park and Rec Committee requested that we bring it back this month with a joint meeting with the Cemetery Commission, to just kind of talk about it. So other than that, it's kind of wide open to see where you guys want to go with this. I don't really have a specific
Lay the
agenda for
groundwork,
this.
though.
What's that?
I mean, I think this is probably where to start is where we're at.
Yep.
Yep.
Rob, go ahead and take it.
Yeah, Lori will take one part, I'll take another.
Sure. We watched your last meeting and we just feel like there's a ton of misinformation out there. We've never voted. We've never said we are not willing to partner on that property. I think people have talked about it, but it was never a formal thing. Our thing is we want to make the cemetery a solitude place, but of course we're open to how can we work together to make it happen if it can. But I guess I was just concerned because I felt like at your last meeting, it was like you guys were under the impression that we said, nope, we're done. And we didn't even work through the process yet. So we had talked about just some questions and concerns we had. And honestly, like Rob went and met with Chad and, we had talked about it as a group at our meeting, but we've never really talked about it as a group all together. So in my mind, like in our mind, we weren't done with it. So then after your meeting, when it was kind of like, oh, it was off the table, I was very surprised by that because that was not who knows? We might go this way, we might go that way, but we haven't even worked through it. So, we had some things written down that we had concerns, sanctity of the cemetery, what could the parking plan be? Obviously now with the compost pile back there, we wanted to see, what's the plan going forward on that? We were really just on the cusp of looking into it. So sorry if I got anybody all excited, but
Yes, that's why I'm here as the general manager of the utilities. We have
Yeah.
a property up there.
yeah.
So I'm here just to express my concerns.
Mhm.
The reason we pick some of those sites is because they're not so accessible to the public. And my concern with the water tower is for some reason every 18-year-old kid in New London wants to climb the water tower. We have had people break into that water tower, and that is due to them being able to access that dumping site. So one of my concerns is if you open that up, not that any of the people in the mountain biking community are bad people, but it allows juveniles to go up there and congregate in an area. And that's my concern, is it's very hard for utility employees, police, and the cemetery personnel to police that area after that, because I can't go up there, visually see the tower and see a kid and I can't kick him off. You know, I can't say, why are you here? And, you know, usually, and we have done that, you know, we act as a liaison to the entire community. So that's one of my concerns. My other concern is we would have to raise the fence up there to increase the security. We also have radios on that. That is communication for the police, the fire department, and the city. So if they would access, there's going to be a new building put there. There's going to be new equipment in there. You know, if they access and damage that, those are a couple of my concerns. I walked out of my office and I just asked the girls in the office, I said, hey, what are you guys' thoughts about a mountain bike trail in the cemetery? And that was where it kind of alarmed me. One of the girls that works there, she got a little emotional. Her husband is buried at the cemetery. And she said, are you serious? I have to give someone directions while I'm crying for my husband, because that's what I do when I'm at the cemetery. So I think I'm probably here for her more than anything else. That was a little emotional for me. So it really hit home, the solitude part. You know, I went and dumped brush there. I worked for the city for 23 years. I dumped brush every day. I drove by my grandparents. Didn't bother me a bit to go through the cemetery. And I understand what every one of you guys, hey, that's a great thing. You know, bike trail in the back of the cemetery, it's great. You know, it's good to utilize that land. But for those couple individuals that it really disturbs, that kind of hit home for me. So that's why I just wanted to come here and express, you know, some of my concerns with using that area. And the last concern I had was, if you haven't been up there to visually see the property, there's a quarry right next to it. If I was riding a mountain bike in that 10 acres, the first thing I would want to do is dive that hill at that active quarry. I mean, when we trimmed trees back there, I wanted to take a sled down that hill, worse than bad. So these people are probably adventurous. And like I said, there's going to be the good and there's going to be the bad. And I think you're going to cause some more problems for the people in that quarry. So, you know, as I'm a little bit opposed to this more than I'm in favor of it, I just want you guys to know that those were our thoughts. But primarily I'm here for the girl in my office.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's exactly where we're coming from. We haven't delved into this. We haven't looked at the different aspects of it. We haven't asked for public input, you know. I mean, we haven't done all that yet. So that's where we were.
Right. These two have kind of said a lot of the sentiment. You know, I think Brian probably shares it. He's the other, Brian Stray, president of the chair, actually, of the Cemetery Commission. And again, we haven't thought about it, but if I see issues with doing anything formal back there. Not that it can't be designated as something, but something of where it's a regular meeting place. I mean, that as opposed to having it as a passive recreation where it's just voluntary people are going there. Certainly the school visiting, no, that's not a problem. Those are not issues or anything like that. But putting something formal up there where there's a group regularly meeting up there with purpose, and if it were to balloon out beyond that and there's actually constant visiting to it, that we see as a problem. But as far as programming it or putting something in there, dare I say, I know we have disc golf, but you know, maybe that's kind of a passive sport that as long as it wasn't programmed, I don't see it presenting a problem. But again, we're in the process of discussing that. It's nothing that's been stamped or anything like that now. I had one other thing, and maybe now's the time to bring it up. Chad, you know about, with Lauren, you were starting to talk about it. Lauren Deek is the Outagamie County Parks Director, my old counterpart, only Outagamie County. And out of that meeting that we had, Chad shared that there is a nice sized property out there. You all know about it, all the old counties and so forth. I knew of a Ski Hill out there. But that's the site, the old ski hill site that just sits there year after year. I never knew it was just available as a property that Outagamie County Parks hasn't programmed at all. They haven't done it for a reason. Let's just say it's under their ownership, but there's a little bit of dispute in the background. Lauren's not that eager to get it started up, but there's another, there is an opportunity. Again, I throw it out for the off-road people, the biking people, if they want to pursue this, that right now, Outagamie County's in the process of doing their comp plan. He is eager to hear from us. If there's interest in a mountain biking group that would go out there, now's the time to make a score, so to speak, with putting input into that survey. It's online, and everybody here really should, especially if you live in Outagamie County, should probably visit their site, weigh in on it. It's a broad scope. It's not just that property. The comp plan's just like all of you know what it is. You've just gone through it recently, or?
We're going to be working on updating it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna be in, it's done every 5 years or so, and that's what they're doing. And so now is the time to weigh in. You have till March 12th, and then it's offline. So I would have to say, I hope word gets out to the, particularly to the biking people, to get as many people to weigh in, because that's how these things are scored, really. The weight of people having input, the number of people having input. If Lauren's able to bring it in to the attention of his committee and so forth, it can really snowball and maybe something gets started out there. I've seen the property from an aerial. I've seen from the topo. Boy, what a sight. What a sight for biking, mountain biking. It'd be great. And I think it's an opportunity. And now it's the time maybe to really go at it. So this is good. This came up. But if it's to be done, I think mountain biking probably should take place out there. It's probably the best site and could grow far beyond what anything up at the cemetery could be. So we talked enough.
Anybody on our committee got anything they want to say about it? Dave? You got anything to say on it?
I'm under the impression there's already biking trails back there that just had to be cleaned up. So this is all done once before. I understand everybody's concerned with the water towers and all that, but anybody can go there now.
There's a difference if you make it a public venue where, okay, whatever the name of your biking group is, we're going to meet at behind Floral Hill at the property behind there, then it becomes a destination because people start knowing about it. One person tells another. There are people that do bike out there. Tiffany, that used to be on the committee, her and her husband went out there and they'd clean up, and when she was, I don't know if she's still at school, but they'd bring groups out there and stuff. It was more in a small private type thing. I think there's a lot of concerns too, at least I agree with you about the cemetery, the part of it, about the solitude, and it's when we were having the debate over the dog park, that was one of the problems I had with having the dog park out there. It's the traffic coming in and out, and people want privacy out there. They want to be with their loved one, and they don't want to be dealing with people coming around and everything else. I just think that there's better places to put it.
Red?
I'd have to agree with Mr. Best on his 2 points that, number one, it's a cemetery and it's not a carnival grounds or anything. And number two, the water tower. And I know we used to play around up on, where's the one in town on Nassau Street?
Yep.
Kids are going to do that. One will challenge the other one.
Yeah.
So you got a possible liability for the city. There were kids farting around. But the biggest thing is it's a cemetery and it should be quiet because you never know. There might not be a funeral that day, but somebody might be out visiting one of their deceased relatives. And I think it should remain as a solemn cemetery, period.
I mean, we're certainly willing to go out there and walk the property. I know that someone had brought up about using that east entrance, and we thought, well, we could check and see like the burials in the last few years, where in the cemetery have they been? Because maybe that truly is a dormant site. I don't know. I'm not convinced that it is, but I mean, those are all things we are willing to check into,
Is there
but
another entrance to that property back there? Okay, I didn't think so.
No.
unless you go through MPB,
Right,
which they don't want to,
right.
so, I was thinking, okay, what's on the west side? Is there a way to circle around on the west? I mean, I just feel like we need to explore everything before we're like, no, I don't know.
Go ahead, John.
And I'm glad you guys came tonight because, I too think we maybe were, under the impression that the Iron Fist
Yeah.
slammed down and there was a opportunity closed, although we did talk about the site north of town, which we all know
Flat and boring,
that'd be like
yeah.
throwing money into a pothole.
Has Hatton Park ever been considered? I mean, that's 120 acres to develop those into trails that would be more desirable for mountain biking. I mean, you have a huge imprint there. Nobody would be opposed to a bike in the park.
Well, I think that the folks that are approaching us on this have biked there. I mean, we all cross-country trained there. We,
Okay.
not all, but I mean, a lot of us have been down every inch of those trails and stuff.
And that's 120 acres. How long are they gonna find this 10 acres fun? If you're sick of the 120 acres at Hatton Park, how long is it gonna take you to drive around that 10 acres and want to go home?
I grew up in those 10 acres and, back then it was dirt bikes and that's how the trails actually got there. And I'm not condoning that either, but, the issue for us was just like, I don't think I agree with Rob. I don't think it should even be considered to be like a marketing destination or a place like that of any sort, but just the fact that if one of these young guys or gals is back there on a mountain bike, I don't think they need to go away with a trespassing ticket or something like that. I mean, I understand the need, especially in today's day and age, to have security. And the water system and our electrical system, as we've all very well know, is our most guarded life treasure right now, as far as our civilization. But that's been there for a number of years. And if it needs to be updated, yeah. Do we need to make a 12-acre compound around it? I don't know.
I mean,
do
we have
we need
lots-
to look at that? And as far as the quarry and as our neighbors, I can tell you, my daughter and I go up there and we walk around the cemetery and we look at tombstones and stuff. The museum has had cemetery tours. And I get the solitude part, but how far do we take that? It's publicly owned property. People are looking for places to get some fresh air. If somebody's back there on a bicycle, maybe it's not a big development. There's not whatever, but as far as the quarry goes, that's been a cemetery, as far as my daughter and I can see on the gravestones, long before a quarry was there, and whether the quarry's active, whether it'll ever be reclaimed, whether back in the day when city fathers allowed the quarry to be there, whether they had an agreement that would ever be reclaimed or not, bottom line is the cemetery was there before the quarry. And I'm sure the cemetery is just as disruptive as a pedal bike. And I'm sure that a gasoline lawnmower is just as disruptive as a pedal bike. I think that it's a good conversation to have versus just say, nope, that's not an option. Because what are we telling our young people that kind of want to be able to go back there and ride without being called vagrants, vandals, water tower climbers, whatever? There can be some responsible use to it. And I get what you're saying about people climbing it, but it's like saying we should close off the road to prevent somebody from speeding. We should make it harder to speed, but we shouldn't close roads to make it so that somebody doesn't speed. And I totally get the solitude thing. I mean, I really do. I hold cemeteries reverent, but when, at the last meeting, my point was there was probably 400 cars a week going through there with trailers with brush overhanging wider than the streets and dumping it. There was people back there with chainsaws cutting the stuff.
Yeah.
We've made it more reverent. We've cut that off.
Is the plan to have that compost area out of service, or what is your plan for that? Okay,
Eventually, yeah.
okay.
And so I was thinking to myself, I don't know what the problem is, but I wasn't,
Yeah.
I was just all of a sudden, why
Yeah.
wouldn't that be a good, I mean, I grew
Yeah.
up running around in those woods
Yeah.
out there, but that's just my take on it. I do agree that there needs to be more consideration and thought.
Mhm.
And Rob, your connection with the lady from Outagamie County is fantastic because you are right. That is the site. But we still need to talk about the cemetery thing because if we're just going to make it a compost, then let's put a fence up around the whole 10 acres or sell it to the utilities or something. But if it's in public trust,
Well, I
it
thought,
shouldn't just sit there and be people shoot off.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought that 10 acres was for future development of the cemetery.
Yeah, we have to say that it's not for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
just right now, it's looking
Yeah.
like the future is well taken care of with that frontage area moving out that way. So for the foreseeable future. So the thought is, why let it sit? So that's why we're all on this. I think we're on the same.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. but
Yeah,
And you guys aren't set in stone and saying, no, they can't
No.
get back in there. So
we haven't even looked into it really.
No, I think what we're doing is looking at a lot of different things
Yeah.
that we kind of are intertwined with, okay, this
Yeah,
solitude and doing something that's more appropriate for what a cemetery should be. The things have kind of slipped and
yeah,
we need to tighten it up, we feel, to get it kind of more in line with what a cemetery is all about. And I think we're in that mode, but this got carried into it. We weren't
yeah.
looking at it aggressively, cutting off all programs. And John, I agree, that is a kind of a land trust back there that's available to the public, and it should be. That's, I think we talked about this just before
Yeah.
coming in. Yeah, it should not be cut off.
Yeah, we were just, we talked about like, oh, what's some of the access? And Jamie from Tony Cemetery reached out to Murphy's and they're like, yeah, you can't use that little road. And we're like, okay, and then we really weren't doing much else about it and kind of just like didn't know there was any rush to urgency. And then all of a sudden I watched the meeting and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't say that, So, yeah. So, no, like we could look into it, but it wasn't anything that we're going to take immediate action on that we thought had to be done right now. We're trying to do a lot of stuff. So,
We'd like to work with you. If something
Yeah.
does come up, if something would,
yeah,
we hope we'd hear about it, obviously. I think we're starting to communicate here, so
Yeah.
it would be maybe a good time for you to start talking about it, part of your comp plan too. I know we, in the past, I don't mean to dig up the past, we never could come up with something, with the old Parks Committee, but if you do come up with something, let us know and we'd like to discuss it with you.
anybody
Yeah,
got?
I'd like to add that I like what you brought to the table. That gives a little bit of perspective to loved ones and families that are there.
mhm,
That I wish we would have more of that to understand really how the public feels about the traffic back there, not only in this aspect, but the whole aspect. So I appreciate you bringing that in. And with you, John, you gave a beautiful presentation about the longevity of it and how it was used in the past and to the future of the do's and don'ts, and that it's still a public entity. Two explanations that work well on both sides, and that's why we're here.
mhm.
So I really commend you guys both for what you said.
Maybe we should be looking into the aspect of the school using it. like when Tiffany Schultz was there, I mean, she'd take a group of kids and they'd go up there and bike or whatever they were doing up there. Maybe that's the way we should go, is approach the school to see if it's would be beneficial for the school to use that for their programs or something. Is there somebody up at school that takes like field trips to the kids and stuff?
Yeah, I just heard about Adventure doing that sometimes, but I didn't hear much about it. Honestly, I didn't know about that back area. I think a bunch of high school students are oblivious to it. And so just listening to this is very informational.
I know my daughter's 24, and when she was in high school, she did summer FIED, and they rode bikes back there. She said, "Oh, it's really cool back there." She knew what I was talking about right away.
So, yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
a path we should take. If everybody's, I'm hearing, a little bit, maybe we got to have more discussion on this then, Chad.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good points, I mean, what Jay's
Yeah.
talking about with the utilities back there, and does the fence have to be raised, and who's going to pay for that? And then just the access back there. And I don't want to forget Zach, because he's here. Like, so
Yeah.
Zach's the one that has kind of brought this to
Yeah.
likely from the beginning. But to talk about Jay's question about not looking at Hatton Park, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but like the area behind Floral Hill and like the area the county has is more attractive just because of the elevation. Hatton Park is pretty flat, so you get the nice wooded area, but it's pretty flat. So the elevation was the attracted part of it for making bike trails. So I guess that's why the thought process was to look into down behind Floral Hill. But
Is this something that we could open up on a timely situation? It's only open after 4:00 until 9:00, or on a concept like that, to just as of right now to let this continue to have these gentlemen ride their bikes back there and do this.
Is that
program.
back area locked off right now or not?
I don't think it's locked up right now. There's a fence there, a gate there that we
Okay.
can lock it up,
Okay.
but I don't think it is right now.
Okay. Because it was, wasn't it?
I'll have to talk to Luke. I don't know if they went back there and locked it up.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But I was just throwing that out there as an idea, because I definitely think there has to be more discussion. I think all of us should go out there and really see what the dynamics are. I mean, it's easy to sit in this room and say do's and don'ts, but to get out there and see firsthand how
Right.
far back they're going, how secluded it is,
Yeah.
and really get the feel for the atmosphere. I don't want to see us just close it down because we think somebody might get hurt.
Well, and what are access points? Are there logical access points? Yes or no? I don't
Right.
even know. I
Right, that's
didn't look.
exactly what I'm saying.
Well, and I see Jay's point. So we take,
Yeah, totally.
so let's say Mr. John Rockdeschel takes his biology class out there to identify Japanese knotweed. And
Yeah.
they've gone back there and pulled Japanese knotweed. Jay, you know that there's an infestation back there.
Yep.
The risk is, there's certain bad players in every group. Will they come back after hours and
Sure.
go up, climb the, different just mayhem
Yep.
type things? But they're going to do that in the back alley. They're going to do it in Riverside Park. They're going to do it in Taft Park, Veterans Memorial.
Yeah.
They're going to do it in Timbuktu.
Yep.
I
But-
agree with you. And on that point, if you know the quarry and that road and you take a bike down there, you're going to get seriously injured. I mean, that quarry is high.
Yeah.
We dumped stuff off the end of there. I guess that's a concern of mine, because you're going to add that to the quarry. They could possibly have, and this is no joke, they could have a fatality if somebody on a bike, one of those, students decides, it's really cool. This is cool.
I've
But
seen,
did you see over the fence what's over there?
I've seen my first compound fracture, not on television, not on Ripley's Believe It or Not, but right there on that slope. It was a motorbike guy that tried to go up.
Dirt bike.
I've seen people injured because back in the day, they used to sight in shotguns and a rock or something ricocheted from a slug and it. But that's why I'm sure that Murphy's or whoever owns that has put that under lock and key.
Right.
When I grew up on Beckert Road apartments, it was a thing to take off and run. And and land off the cliff as far as you could and see how far down your legs would go in the sand. And then the sand would come down and almost avalanche you. And sometimes we'd have to be dug out like this.
Yeah.
But that was in the 1980s.
Yeah.
But so I see the safety concern, but that's that part of the property.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been under lock and key now. I mean, those days
There
are
is
long.
an offense there in the back 10 acres.
The temptation is there. And so there again, we're back to a society thing here.
Right.
Where if you take 100, I'm just going to say kids because I'm an old man. Maybe 3 of them are going to get the idea like Friday night, it's bored, the full moon just is popping up. Let's go check that out back there where Mrs. Schultz showed us or whatever. So, yeah, but does that fear keep me from having the other 96, 94 kids, whatever it is, experience some outdoors, learn some stuff, and have a nice time out in the woods on publicly owned property? So there is a balance. And do we need to have a 12-foot high fence around everything? We might be getting there.
Lori, do you have something?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that even though that's not designated as a bicycle path, I'm sure that there are a lot of people just going out there recreationally using it now and again. And if these gentlemen or I don't know how many of them how many of you are there or
There's like 5 of us right now that are looking into it. I'm the only one that's here tonight, so.
right. So I guess if you 5 guys stop out there once a week and ride what the trails are back there, they're not really going to get in any kind of trouble. I mean, because there's no real ordinance or anything about using it out there. And obviously from the conversation around, people have been doing it for years. So for you guys to just go out there and ride, probably nobody's even going to notice. It's going to be just not even a blip on the radar. It's when you start getting a larger group that people are concerned with, that it becomes a problem.
And I think to add to that is it's represented that it's closed right now,
Oh, it is closed?
that with the gate being closed, and that's
Because
the
when we went out
perception.
there wasn't a gate there.
There's a gate there. It was probably just open. at
Oh,
the
it was
time.
just open?
Yeah.
Okay.
When is your next cemetery meeting?
We just had one, so
Yeah.
it's a few weeks yet.
I was just wondering if maybe our next meeting that we come by you guys and we take a field trip, to further on these ideas of the ledges, the
Sure.
water tower, and
Yeah,
let's take that idea out there. I'm with Lori though. I mean, I think in the meantime, my perception is why wouldn't we let them out there right now?
I mean, is this something where it's going to be like a big publicity push and like this is the place to go? I don't know. I don't even know.
I think there's 2 things.
We
'cause
never
when-
talked about it.
When Zach approached us, it was going to be a development project, right? To make it a thing. So, I mean, we're talking about one thing of just being a passive little area to kind of just go hang out. But correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but it was kind of more of a, hey, let's develop something into something a little bit bigger than just open passive, bike trail. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, the initial intention was to turn it into a development project, or to do, give that land a specified purpose rather than just a general recreation space.
Oh.
But that was the intentions going into it. Now it's just whoever's responsible for the space around it, what they want to define as our parameters for what we can do back there. If my intentions were to do a development thing, to attract people from around the state to the area to ride the trails, stuff like that. But, if we want to keep it a smaller thing, then we won't, advertise it on social media or whatever. It'll be kept within, groups of friends that we need to limit the access back there. And I guess that was kind of my other intention here, is not so much to develop that area straight into a bike park, but to use it as a petri dish for us to test and see what kind of traction that this can pull. I know we discussed, I was at the cemetery meeting, that one of the things we discussed is if something like this blows up, it's kind of hard to stop it.
Yeah.
But I think that it would at least show that, there's more people to go to Outagamie County or develop the other spaces in town for, something that's dedicated to that. I don't know, that space back there, since there wasn't a specified use, I thought it would be perfect to, use it as a test to see what kind of thing you can do for the community or, surrounding areas. So.
Maybe we should look into this more and then find out what's happening with the development out in Outagamie County to see if that would work better with these guys in Floral Hill.
Again, I have to underscore, it is something that everybody here has to weigh in on, get online, put in there that, okay, there's a site here, we need mountain biking up here in New London. That's where you're going to kind of get the push. It has to be shown in numbers. That's how, that's how the comp plans are done. Who responded, what did they say? If you get a large number of people saying, we got to have mountain biking over here, well, they're going to start looking into it. He has something to go on.
Yeah.
And that's what he said on the phone to me. If you kind of get this going, it's something tangible that I can say, okay, there's a drive. There's a reason for me having to put resources and develop that property. He can label it as such, a need out here. But without that, it's hard to say why he's going to weigh in on, if no one's saying we need a mountain biking thing, what does he have to go on?
So maybe we're going to have to keep the discussion going with you yet and see if we can get something up. But I think we've had enough discussion on it for
Yeah.
tonight. I mean, we could sit here for 2 hours and talk about this.
Yeah.
But I think we've had a lot of good points brought up. And now maybe we can go back and start reevaluating
We need to make our
what
case.
we're doing.
Yeah. Could you email us the link to that survey and maybe we could all jump on that or
Perfect
something?
idea.
Yeah.
Perfect idea.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
You
good
can do
idea.
that, but if you want to go on your own,
Yeah.
basically, it's simple. It's the Outagamie County Parks Department. But
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
easy
I mean,
enough to generate it. Yeah.
Not to be,
If nothing else, it's a reminder to everybody.
yeah,
And
I
if you
mean-
don't do anything on the survey,
yeah,
if you don't want to spend probably 15, 20 minutes filling the whole thing out, go right. Usually these, I can't say
Yeah.
Lauren's, but
Yeah.
usually the comment section's on the back end.
Yeah.
So if you just weigh in and say, need a mountain biking area, and you actually can add more to it. There's a site out to the east of New London. We would like to see it there.
Zach, just out of curiosity, when would you guys start getting your bikes out and hitting the trails?
The minute everything dries up and we get a yes to use the space.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking. I didn't know if maybe wait until next month, if it would be too long, if we should act on something here or now, or.
I mean, it's whenever we get the space. The sport right now with the whole COVID thing and lockdown, and everybody getting out and doing outdoor recreation shows no signs of slowing down right now. Especially the mountain biking thing. I mean, just the outages of like parts and bikes and stuff in the store just continues to go up and up and up.
Was that something that you would do like tomorrow? Is this this
I
time
mean,
of
if you
year?
guys give me a yes tonight, I'd be out there with a shovel after work.
Okay.
But I would totally encourage you to promote
Oh,
what Rob was
absolutely.
talking about with the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan and
yeah.
get that word out there. And did you talk?
March 12th is the deadline, by the way.
Did you talk to Lauren about the Fox Valley group, biking group? I didn't pick up the official name of that group. Did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But they're out there. Heck, I've said it before here. We did one down in Winnebago County. It's gone home. I would second what Zach said. I think it's way up there as far as the sports that are growing. And that site down in Winnebago County has got a lot of attention. It's drawing people regionally and so forth. And although, again, I haven't seen that one, that thing out there has even more potential with its elevations and so forth. And it sounds like Lauren didn't say this, so don't hold me to it, but it sounded like Carte Blanche to go develop it. I think it's 30 plus acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember,
think
but
it
something like that.
was 30 something,
I
yeah.
mean, that's a lot of land to play around with. It could be something, and I almost guarantee you, from an economic generator, you could have people coming here. This is something bigger than just mountain biking. And the cemetery just isn't the place to do it at. You're limited. You're not going to be able to go hog wild up there again from that programming standpoint. But out there, yeah.
But like,
As long as that
Yeah.
little bugaboo, whatever the land issue is, but he said
Yeah.
this would help clear that up.
but again, we're back to passive recreation, high school use, a few bikes here and there versus a formal destination. And if we're looking at trying to develop a formal destination as New London, why would we not let Outagamie County shoulder that burden? They've got the funding, they've got the promotional ability. We're riding right on their shirt tails here.
We got Mosquito Hill is right across the road from this place.
Yup.
I agree.
So
with
you
that.
have the
Yeah.
Mosquito Hill, plus you would have this area
Yeah.
there, so it's kind of a,
And my fear is, I'm not one to drag my feet. If I think something can be done, I want to get it done. But I don't think this is something that we can decide right now. That's not fair to the people of the community.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have time to get input. We wouldn't have time to do it justice.
Yeah.
So if there is this huge push, we need something right now, I'm not ready. That's just me.
I guess we're kind of the consensus as a group. I guess we're going to do some more looking into this before we actually make a decision on it. Is everybody kind of in agreement with that?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, maybe we can shoot some dates and we can go out there and look around and maybe go out there and look. I don't know.
I would encourage too to contact some folks at UWSP. They've got a couple, they've got the green circle, but they've got that just outside of Plover there. There's a very popular extreme course, and places that are established close by would be excited about somebody like yourself and your group of friends that are excited about spreading that. It's kind of like to speak industry specific, what you were saying about you don't want, what if like a place like that just went nuts and then it was a crazy,
Yeah, then we'd have a problem.
it's like giving somebody a fishing spot versus teaching them how to fish.
Yeah.
You don't give them the GPS coordinates. You encourage the sport to continue on. You don't just tell them here, throw the stick of dynamite in the round hole and you make your dad mad. But reach out to those like-minded groups that are very close by, and they might be able to offer you some advice of how they got that going, because it started with a couple young people like you that had a passion for a sport, and that's the best thing about this is you're here. So I think it was a good conversation.
All right. So I guess we're pretty much in consensus that if you guys want to adjourn your meeting now.
A motion.
Sure.
Or entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded.
Yeah.
Approved? Yep. We're out.
Thanks a lot, Rob.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thanks for
Yeah.
inviting
very
us, by the
And
exciting.
if
way.
you could forward that link to us, I'm on
Yeah.
the
It's not easy.
site now and I'm not finding.
All right.
So that
It
would,
might be on the planning.
Water tower.
Yeah,
I'd like to do
it could
that
be hard to
sometime.
I appreciate that. And then we can get it out to everybody.
All right, I'll get a hold of you. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to Jay and Zach also
You
for
did.
coming
Pearl
out
Street.
too.
Thank you guys for your
I've
consideration.
never done it, but
You guys have a good evening.
Okay, you got a special action on the special events. Chad?
Right, so last month I kind of indicated that I thought it'd be time to start talking about this. If you recall, when we kind of left last season for special events, mass gathering for special events because of COVID, we were to the point where, and I think I put it in my memo, the actual verbiage that we had last time. But for the most part, we were restricting special events to a limit of 250 people. And there was also other aspects going on at the pool and the senior center, Washington Center and stuff like that. So Chief and I sat down today to try to just kind of come up with some thoughts of at least a recommendation to move forward. So I'm not recommending right now to change anything, but I wanted to kind of pick the committee's brain a little bit to see if you're on the same page with what we're kind of thinking. Overall, the numbers are going down, which is positive. You look at the state, you look at the county, it's all a good thing. Obviously, we don't want to do something that's going to drastically change that. We want to keep on that pace. But, with the vaccines going out and everything, it seems like we're starting to get into a positive aspect that we want to really talk about special events. So when Chief and I and Ginger sat down today, we talked about the differences between outdoor and indoor. And I think we all know, we've heard this over and over, that indoor seems to be a different animal when you talk about the COVID spreading than the outdoor. And that's why you're wearing masks up inside and things like that. So I'm just going to throw it out there right now that we're kind of to the point we're thinking by that April, May timeline, that for outdoor events, start opening that up a little bit. You know, not so much put a number on the gathering for special events, but for groups that are having events, you know, have a conversation to make sure that they're doing something, you know, for, you know, just COVID consideration, you know. So we think that obviously Big Whopper weekend will be an upcoming one. I haven't got a permit from them, so I don't know what their plans are.
They're having theirs out at their clubhouse.
He left
Okay.
town.
Then that's one that we don't have to worry about. But then I think the youth baseball and youth softball tournaments for May, that's going to be kind of one of the next ones. So I
May
think
1st.
opening those up, you know, because you've had sporting events with the schools going on, and those seem to be going positive. So I think having the conversations with the clubs about just general considerations, but not so much setting a number at this point moving forward.
I would like to add that through the whole pandemic, I've went to 10 different baseball tournaments throughout Wisconsin last summer, and there is not a single case of spread from a baseball tournament outside or a softball tournament outside. We can't sit here and at economic development meetings worrying about our small businesses and close everything down again. You just can't. You can't do both. There's no reason why there can't be baseball and softball tournaments in London starting in May. And baseball and softball, they both already have their precautions. It's the same as what we tried presenting last September when that tournament was also canceled. It's just, the spread's just not there outside. It's really not. And to put a limit on it wouldn't be good. We need to get people here. And like I said, the numbers are going down drastically. By May, those that want to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. This doesn't make sense at this time.
And I think to go forward with what you're saying is that I think the whole pandemic thing has came to the point where people, they haven't accepted it, but they realize that there's a chance wherever they go or whatever they do, that they may come in contact with somebody. So a lot of people, especially older people, are of the opinion, if I'm afraid of it, then I'm going to stay home. And a lot of people are just staying home so that they don't have to come in contact. So outside, I think you're going to have even more people that are just choosing to not go instead of taking the risk.
And that's their choice.
And that,
Yeah, and that's their choice. Exactly. So for us to lock things down like you're talking about, I don't think there's a necessity for that for outdoor activities. I mean, yeah, limit. I mean, I'm not saying let's throw the Shamrock thing next month, but
And that's a little bit different of
That's
an
inside,
event.
though. That's a
That's inside too.
You're right. That's
I
an
mean-
inside event.
Yeah. So
They could take that tent down in a hurry.
I've looked at
You're still going to have
I've looked at the events going on around us. Okay. There's been a lot more events happening outside.
Mhm.
There are plans for a lot more inside events. There are plans for concerts. The venue is growing to get back to normal throughout our summer. My take on it is as much as yours is to open up and let these kids play ball, let these kids have their time that is needed. Again, with all the talk that the people that are accepting either way of it are making their choices on how they're gonna move forward. But that we just had a discussion too, but why would you hold back this venue? Dave, you brought up our economic development, our businesses, and I mean, as a whole, we need to figure out what we're gonna do and how we are gonna perceive to do this. And
Well,
I
I
mean,
was
for
just-
me, that is moving forward by
It's
doing
not
this stuff.
just the people that come to our city for the tournaments that are spending money here. It's the youth organizations themselves buying the concessions, buying stuff. You know, we do try to shop in London when we can, when it makes sense. We do go to Appleton for stuff because it's cheaper. But there's that aspect too. I mean, my question is, what was the chief's ideal as mitigating what?
No, I think it's more so like concession stand workers when they're working inside. Yeah, wear a mask. I mean, that's just food service prep. That's just being smart. But I mean, for the people outside, I mean, I think looking back, and I'm not pretending I'm a medical expert. I'll throw that caveat right now. But I mean, just looking what other places have done, your comments, I have to agree. You haven't really heard outside venues being, super spreaders when they're spread out. I mean, you get Irish Fest when they're all in a tent, packed in a tent. Yeah, that's an event where you can have a super spreading event. But, for baseball and softball, the outside stuff for what we saw last year, listening to the county health officers, being outside events, I think we can definitely start looking at that by far. So just to be smart about, the inside stuff, if it's concession stands or, maybe we talk about, having more sanitation stations, just pumps sitting around for, with sanitizer, little things like that. But I don't think we're to the point anymore to start restricting the numbers like we did last year. And Chief was on the same page with that, for outside stuff. Inside, still, that's a different animal.
And for the trend, I mean, you look at the recent sports in schools, we haven't had super spreaders. I don't want to name sports because I don't want to play the blame game, but there have been very close contact sports out there that have seen transferable COVID cases. But we're a lot more educated than we were last year. And it's a lot more taken care of. And them cases get stopped or isolated faster.
Yep.
So I think we're definitely in a different situation this year.
And if there's any promotion that the clubs can do to have people spread out instead of all packed in the stands, whatever you guys want to do to kind of work on that, whatever. But I don't think we're to the point anymore, unless something changes. Something might blow up and we have to re-examine. But at this point in time, with what we're seeing, we're not recommending right now to have a restriction of numbers for the events. And I wanted to kind of have that conversation. Do you guys feel the same? Because if so, then we would kind of revamp what you see on the screen and then bring that for you guys to kind of nod your head next month and that would be April, so that the May, June, July game stuff can get going. Because we got the car show. I got a special event application for the Parcel, and they're on their application, they estimate 600 people, but they're all spread out. It's outside type thing as well. So I guess I just want to kind of pull you guys more than anything at this point to see what you guys are thinking.
I need to know the nods a little sooner than next April, though.
You could
Oh,
probably ask for.
We got to schedule this.
I think. Yeah.
Right.
I
Well,
think-
that's for everybody. I mean, they're planning their summer events and whatnot.
Yes,
That's
we need to know.
Yeah.
So we're not looking for any action on this right now, just
I wasn't, but I was looking to make sure that you guys
the
are on the
general,
same page with all that.
kind of, we're all in the same agreement like that, and then look into it, and like you said, till April, and then make a decision then.
Well, unless, we got to push it because, Dave's starting to work on tournaments. So
I think we should do it now. I really do.
I think we
should
can do it now.
because
you can always change it
it's
later.
not just baseball and it's not just softball. There's a lot of events that happen in the summer. And
Like-
a lot of the events you're not getting because they are going outside of town because there's been nothing discussed about this yet. So if we get this out there that we're back open, responsibly open, you're going to start getting them requests again.
And like Chad said, unless things change. And if things change, obviously we can bring it back to the table, but we're not anticipating that. No.
I don't like what I'm reading up there about the shelters and some of the rental units not opening till July.
This is an old one.
that was
Oh, that's
last
the old one? Okay.
That's from June yet.
All right, all right.
This is
Oh,
from June
okay, I didn't
last
look
year.
up. I was reading
That
down.
was when we were all still living in great.
It's just a
Yeah.
template of where we were last
Okay,
year.
all right.
Yeah. So, and we're still going to have restrictions inside, at the pool,
Well,
at
yeah.
the senior center, stuff like that. Park shelters, we might have to do a little bit something with that, but
But that's
if-
kind of,
They're all open.
that's open both
yeah.
sides.
But as long as like inside a Hatton, type thing. But I think for now, if you guys want to say that, to direct me, make a motion to direct the department to create an updated policy that we're not doing a restriction on numbers for special events for this summer. Would that be enough for you guys to move forward? I'll still have to do something for internal stuff for like inside things as well on a sheet, but I think if you guys want to make a motion just to direct us to move forward with that, I'm cool with that as well.
I'll make a motion to direct city staff to prepare plans for opening outdoor events and establishing those guidelines for us to open things back up for the summer season, outdoor events, and research any guidelines we may want to at least recommend, such as, concession workers.
Yeah, for food service,
Yes.
things like that.
We have a second?
Yep. Oh, okay.
Dave, we got a,
Lori, seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
There you go.
Consider the
Number 5.
number 5.
So in your packet, there was a draft agreement with Fox Communities Credit Union. If you read through my staff notes in the last couple months, I've been working with Fox Communities on coming up with an agreement for a sponsorship proposal for Memorial Park scoreboards. We had the scoreboards that were, wrecked last year from the April 19th storm. We upgraded those, and I worked out with Fox Communities to get a sponsorship. Proposal right now in a nutshell is basically for a 5-year agreement that they would give us $7,500 to have their signs put on both scoreboards. And that's only a 5-year agreement. So after that 5-year agreement, we can turn around and do it with somebody else. But that's going to help pay for some of the upgrades because we're moving the scoreboards to different locations. So that helped pay for some of that. We did some, we put the Bulldog logo on the scoreboard. So there was some upgraded costs that we had that was above and beyond the insurance money that this is helping pay for. So if you're cool with that, Earl and I have been going back and forth, and sounds like we're okay with the verbiage of the agreement. So if you guys are cool with that, make a recommendation for council to review it.
I would recommend that we go with the Fox Communities Partnership for sponsoring the Memorial Park scoreboards.
Second.
Motion been made and second to go with the Fox Community Credit Union sponsorship for the scoreboards. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Authorize the execution of agreement with Wapaka County Health Department for use of the Washington Center.
Yep. This is the annual agreement that we signed to allow the County Health Department to use the Washington Center Senior Center for the nutrition program. It's the exact same agreement we've had for, Michelle, how many years have I had you look at that agreement to see if it's the same verbiage?
At least my last 4 I've been.
Yeah. So the exact same verbiage, this exact same payment too. They have not, unfortunately, we haven't seen additional money for their payment, but we know how that all goes right now. So I'd ask that the committee consider sending that to council as well for execution.
Look for a motion on that.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, second then.
Motion made and second to agree with the Wapaka County Health Department for the Senior Center Nutrition Program. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department stats, annual report.
Yep. This was also in the Public Works packet yesterday, but for those of you who are not on Public Works, we provided you the 2019-2020 annual report. The reason why it's 2 years is because last year when COVID came out, everything got kind of put on the back burner. This would be one of them. But again, I'm going to, thank Michelle for putting that together and doing a great job, getting everything together, talking with staff, bugging me to get my butt in gear to make sure we get this done. But she did all the work on this, so I thank her for that. And it just a good little recap of what Public Works and Parks and Rec have done over the last 2 years at this point.
Yeah, I guess we'll go look for number 8. Consider approval for agreement with Aries Associates?
Yeah, and tonight we have Craig Shue and Matthew Litchfield from Aries and Associates. You guys want to wave your hands so they know who you guys are? They are our consultants who are working on the Newton Blackmore Trail Extension project for the city, which is also tied in to that community development block grant that we've been awarded to with Outagamie County. So up to this point, we have worked on it and have agreements up to did we have it up to 60% design? Is that what it was?
In the ballpark of 60% designs, some coordination with the DOT has occurred. Obviously worked with Outagamie
Craig,
County.
or why don't you come up so you by the microphone so that
I'm sorry,
just for the record. So,
I should let Matthew do this.
oh, well, he can come up too if he wants.
So should I start over?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. So, so in essence, our plan is roughly 60% plans. We had to do that for the estimating purposes for the CDBG close grant application. We wanted that estimate to be as concise as possible. So we've, gotten to that point. Now it's cleaning up all the fine details of the plan, working with the DOT, working with the railroad, working with Wapaka County now for the potential bridge over the river, and putting that entire plan together so that we can eventually bid that out here in a few months. So that's where we're at right now with this proposal to the committee.
So
they work through all their issues around the Highway 54 and stuff out there?
So
why do you say that?
yeah, we could talk for a half hour here, and I'm not sure if you guys want to go that long, but I'll try to give you a 30-second debriefing. So you are working with North Central Region for DOT. So you have individuals from the Rhinelander office or from Wisconsin Rapids office. We had initial meetings several years ago. They appeared to be on board. North Central Region, or was part of that, and so Wapaka County is North Central. Outagamie County is Northeast Region, so that would be the Green Bay office, DOT. Well, that bridge is for Highway 45 over Highway 54 is in the jurisdiction of North Central Region. So now we're working with just North Central Region staff. We had one meeting, myself, Chad, 5 individuals from the DOT and Matthew were involved in a Zoom meeting, a virtual meeting that we had. We worked through some things. We got some more details from them that they wanted to see in our plans as we move to final design. They did throw us a little bit of a curveball, and this is something that was new to even Chad. They're scoping work on State Trunk Highway 54 for potential work in 2025. And Chad's doing a great job navigating Google Earth right now. And you can see that is the pier on the Highway 45 overpass. There's no protection around that pier for crashes. So if you jump the curb in the median in snow conditions, you're hitting an immovable barrier. So they're looking at what they can do there. If it's going to be beam guard or something, but they won't tell us yet because it takes them a long time to scope a project. So that is going to be the one hurdle that we have to work through.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling it's going to be a little time consuming. And Chad and I talked again today. We're going to have to get Chad involved because that's the best way for us to get responses from them right now.
Okay.
They're all working virtually and it's hard to pin them down. We can't go to their office and sit there until they answer us.
Figured that was going to be a big
So
roadblock.
that is one thing. We did talk a little bit today. If there should be some exploration of an alternate route, not under 45 after they threw us that curveball. But we were so far down this path right now that we wanted to at least get this in front of you and then talk immediately after with regards to do we need to do a little more investigation concurrent with trying to put a plan together for under 45.
Sure.
So,
And so the challenge is, we have, if we go this route, they have to provide the permitting because it's their right of way to do that. And like Craig was talking about, if they're not sure what they want to do yet for protection in here, are they going to give any permits to us in the next year? Which I'm very kind of nervous about that, because this is what they say, 2026 they were looking at
What?
doing this?
2025 construction.
2025. So I mean, that's
So-
several years out.
Yep.
How long is it going to take them to figure out what they want to do to allow us what we want to do? That's
Yeah, you don't have that much time with the CDBG close funds. You have to use those in a sunset period. So that's going to be a bit of a struggle. We're anticipating a lot of communication with them, starting as soon as this contract is approved. And we're going to push, and it might take bringing the committee in a little bit too, if we have to.
I was just gonna ask that, because you work with this all the time, would it help if the committee and the city kind of passed a resolution or a proclamation of support, or leaned on, let's say, our governor or our local representatives to say, look, here's where we're at. We've got this wonderful opportunity with this grant, but is it fair to make us wait until we're in our 80s
Yeah.
does that kind of thing work if we, like I remember when the city passed a resolution to opposing sulfide mine on the Wolf River, and by God, a lot of communities did, and that worked, but is that just wasting legal time?
So I think right now that would be counterproductive to you guys focused on what you have.
Yeah.
Let us see if we can get to where we need to. Like I told Chad, I don't want to fill his inbox with emails, but it's going to be that way from this point forward when we have DOT communication, so that they see that the city is involved. And if it takes adding another email or two to that list for us to get the responses we need in the time we need, because we don't have, the goal was to try to start construction late this summer. We don't have time to monkey around with slow responses from the DOT or them wavering on not knowing what they want to do there. Because when you look at that, we have to sneak a trail in that slope paving area underneath the bridge. So we're looking at a 7-foot high retaining wall, a cantilevered, like an L-shaped cantilevered wall under there to hold back that earth to sneak the trail in front of. And then between the trail and the driving lanes, we're going to have a barrier wall. So if they're saying in 4 years that they want to shift the road a little bit closer to the, moving them away from that pier, they're going to get into that trail. So we need to know that sooner than later. And that's where it was the 15th of February. They had a scoping meeting for this project on 54, the end of January. I gave them about a week and a half to respond. They didn't respond, so I pushed. And I forwarded Chad the email that I got today. It was just, we don't know. It's going to take time for us to scope this, and we don't have a lot of time. So neither here nor there. We want to get going on this and push them, and if that makes sense.
Anybody else have any questions? So are we looking for an approval for the agreement with them, Chad?
Yeah, so this would continue the process, and I just wanted to be upfront. I mean, this is a big project. This is nearly $1 million project. So when you see this dollar amount for engineering, there's a lot of things going on. Plus, there is the CDBG Administrative Services, which is a lot. There's a lot of reporting. There's a lot of hoops to jump through with that. And because it's a community development block grant project, it has to be engineered a little bit more than if it was just our project and
Correct.
paying it on our own.
And the committee probably doesn't realize that when we did the 60% design, Wapaka County was anticipating doing the pedestrian multi-use trail bridge over the Embarrass River.
Yeah.
Well, I was, I know I mentioned it to Chad, and I said, let them run with it, because That's all in a floodplain. So there's FEMA coordination and work there that has to go on. There's the design of the piers, the bridge, the alignment, and I said, fine, that's about $45,000 of engineering work that needs to occur. And then they turned around and was it December? I think you told me. Maybe it was November.
Yeah,
They
late
said they
last
didn't want to
year.
do it.
Yeah, they didn't feel like they were going to get the grant funding from the snowmobile, snowmobile funds that they were hoping. So if we want this trail to get done, if we want the bridge to get done,
So yeah,
looks like it's on
so
us.
so there's two items in the final design: the floodplain services and the structural services. And the structural, the floodplain work is because you're in a floodplain there. We have to do modeling. Some existing modeling is there, but we have to modify that if we're changing any elevations in that floodplain. And when you build the abutments and the ramps to go on this bridge, you're putting fill in the floodplain. So you have to do the analysis to make sure you're not adversely affecting upstream elevations. So that's time consuming. That's a lot of coordination with FEMA. Anytime you put that 4-letter acronym out there, dollars start to fly out the door really fast. Then, the structural services is doing a boring there, doing the analysis, doing the design for the abutments. And then that would be a prefabricated structure. So you're putting, and it's going to be a multi-span structure. They're going to have to have a crane on both sides of the river, more than likely, to set that structure. Because I think it's going to be close to 100 feet in
Probably 120.
for a span. So it's going to come probably in 3 sections that'll be bolted together, and then they'll have to have 2 cranes to set it. So, and then, construction administration, Chad had the desire for us to be on site periodically to check at critical times to make sure they were conforming to the plans and specifications. So we estimated our time for that. Staking, because we're going to have to stake everything along 54, stake the bridge abutments, stake trail center line so that the contractor can make sure they build it correctly. So post-construction, that's just doing some final paperwork. And then the CDBG administration, like Chad had said, that is checking wage rates. That's the quarterly reporting, the final closeout work. That's all required per DOA for those funds. So.
And on a positive side, I did hear back from Outagamie County. I can't remember the dollar amount. I don't have it in front of us, but they underestimated the amount of money that we were going to receive because there was some they were underestimated.
They get interest on their loans.
Yep. That was going to be put on top of it. So we were getting more money than what I originally estimated before, which is a good thing for the project.
So
More money is always good.
And then, so if you want a more detailed explanation of our scope of services, the last 5 pages of the agreement, we put a supplemental scope in there. That way, when we put our contracts together and we start editing a long contract like this, we're not hiding our services in there. It makes it much easier for a municipality to understand exactly what we're doing. So those last 5 pages where it says Exhibit 1 so it breaks it down and gives it up. Let's scroll down just a little bit, Chad, right there, starting there. So that is in your packet in case you have any questions. That's what we're anticipating to do. It puts it in a very concise location for everybody to comprehend.
Bob, you got a question in the back?
Mike, did all of the other communities along the length of this trail have to come up with that money, or did they get grants from the county? Just wondering.
The county pretty much did the trail by themselves because it was on the railroad bed, straight on through. Since this is off the railroad bed, it's pretty much on us to try to get it through so we can connect it to the city's trail system at Pfeiffer Park.
Correct. There was years ago a Rails to Trails program, and I would assume that the the county had gotten some compensation for their work that they performed on the trails, removing the rails, removing the ties, putting the gravel base down, and then the screenings that they have on them, signing, so on and so forth.
They got
So,
stewardship funds for that, you know, for the project.
And my question is, this is gonna cost us a lot of money. And how much are we really gonna benefit from this?
Like,
You know,
I agree.
I fail to see, I guess, how much this is gonna bring into the city that we spend that much money on.
Right, Dave.
I personally know a lot of people that use that trail and have to stop right there because it doesn't go any farther. Then they turn around and go back to Shackton and spend their money there.
Well, okay,
They will come this way.
I drive that trail at least, I drive 54 to Seymour, probably 2 to 3 times a month. And I see people on that trail maybe once a month or less.
It's because of deadheads here.
I know, but
We get it.
I don't see people on that trail, period.
Huh?
I very seldom see people on that trail, period.
There's
That
a,
trail goes all the way through Seymour and stuff.
Stops,
I've been in Seymour Trail for about 15 years. and
stops at Oneida because the Indians
There
will not
is
let anybody on.
nonstop traffic out there, nonstop.
And they don't come this far because of deadheads
Yeah.
here. You know, nobody wants to come here, turn around and walk back.
And that's the point, is to bring the longevity to New London and bring them in within the city and then keep them on going. I mean, out in Hortonville, or is it Hortonville that it starts out? Or is that a different trail over there?
That's different.
Yeah, that's different.
isn't a lot of this
You're
grant-
bringing them
grant
right
money?
to the heart of the city,
Yeah.
where you'd eventually come into the park, which is a good thing. If you actually have, that much interest in the mountain bikes or the fat tire bikes, this is going to be, a little bit of paved surface, but most of it's going to be a gravel type surface where they're going to be able to walk, up River Road and continue west. And it's going to be a spoke right into the heart of the city.
And I'd like to add too, that this is a big dollar amount that you're looking at, but that dollar amount is going to essentially bring in $1 million
Yeah.
of grant money.
And I was going to comment on that, Mike. If we were, paying the entire cost for this project, it would be very hard to do. The county was gracious enough to give us their closeout money, 100% of it, which is over $800,000. So, I mean, 80% of this project is being funded through grants, and that's something you don't want to turn away, by any means. So even though the county did the project through the other communities, they still were a partner in this because they basically said, all right, New London, we're going to help you out. Here's $800,000+ to try to help you to get it done. And that's very attractive by far. Yes, we had to kick in, but I mean, 80% of that cost is going to be grant money.
Have we had contributions to this project from different, wasn't there a club or two that donated money or for somebody's memorial or something?
We've had money. We've got a trail account. Don't quote me on what the dollar amount's in there right
Right.
now, but there's been little money here and there designated for trail enhancement, which we can use this money for as well.
Because I know I've been approached by, I believe it was Tammy Nielsen and her husband about it. Their group or whatever have donated money to it. And I've had more than one person approach me and ask when they're going to continue that and when they're going to finish it.
Yep.
So,
And there's another group, and I'm not going to say anything more than that, but there's another group that did approach me months ago with some interest in donating money. So I'm not going to kind of, if it doesn't come through, I don't want to kind of say anything, put any pressure, but so there is another opportunity maybe with that. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of interest and potentially excitement about getting this thing going.
Yeah, we don't want to be the dead end of the trail.
Right.
And the silent sports is what is the thing that's booming.
Yeah.
The biking, the walking your dogs.
Anybody have anything else? We're looking for the approval of the agreement with Aries.
yep, that'll go to council then too.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Ayers and Associates for the Incorporated for the final design, bidding, and construction services for development of the Newton Blackmore Trail.
Second.
First, we got an agreement with Aries. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Director's report.
Let's see, what did I put in my memo here? We didn't have any years of service this month for the Park and Rec side. We had somebody from the street side, and we talked about that last night. Just two quick things. I did have a conversation with Cindy Bumgart at the last meeting. We talked about that you guys instructed me to have a conversation with her just to see if she'd be interested in paying for the cost about that land water conservation grant that we talked about, maybe doing some flip-flop land swap with. She said yes, but was kind of hesitant on it just because, well, she's like, how much is this going to be? And I said, I've never done this before, so I don't know if it's going to be 2 hours of my time or 200 hours of my time, plus the cost of any survey work. So didn't get a full yes or no. I mean, she nodded her head, but she was very hesitant, and rightly so. I mean, she's not going to just give us an open-ended checkbook by any means. I wouldn't expect her to do that. But so I did have that conversation. I think we'll continue that conversation moving forward. And then also the City Hall, Police Department, and Library roof replacement projects. If you remember, we bonded out for those projects to, there's several roofs here over at the Police Department and the library roof. Though that bid advertisement is out, we have a pre-bid meeting on Friday for that. The only hiccup we had was over at the library. And if you look in your memo, you can see on the left-hand side here, this is the shingle that we replaced on the southern half of the roof. What was that, in 2013? And we picked, they called it a premium architectural shingle, and we did that to match the old asbestos roof that's on the north side. Unfortunately, because of the market the way it is right now, that shingle isn't even in production anymore. The bottom that you see in your memo is a close match, which I don't think you would even tell a difference unless I really pointed out what the difference was if we would put this shingle on the north side. The problem is the way with COVID, the pandemic, just the market supply and demand, you cannot get this shingle anywhere on the market right now. And our consultant has been reaching out to manufacturers. Sounds like manufacturers are only focusing on what's really hot selling right now and what they're behind on, which is the standard architectural shingle that you'll see on residential roofs. I'm not in favor of putting this standard shingle on next to what we did a couple years ago in 2013. So we're going to wait on the library roof replacement project. And my consultant was honest. He's like, I don't know if they're going to start producing that this fall or if it's going to be 2 years from now. So we're just going to wait a little bit, and hopefully the market comes back and we can find a shingle that resembles what we did. Because like I said, if we put this on there right now on the north side, people are going to question what we were doing, and just doing something not to match it. So we're going to wait on that particular roof project for the time being. But we should have, I can't remember when the bid opening is, but I think we'll be bringing that. I believe we'll be bringing the bid tab for the police department and city hall roofs at the next Park and Rec meeting for consideration, if I remember right. That's all I got.
Meeting members report.
Sorry, I do got one more. I want to thank Michelle because we just got notification that we have been awarded our latest Tree City USA Award, which we do every year.
Oh, there you go, Mark.
Michelle was the one that put that application together, and we just got that award. So kudos to Michelle for putting that together. So I just found that out, and I didn't have the time to put it in the memo. Sorry. Yes, we'll get to that.
Oh, sorry.
It's like, nope, you're fine.
Anybody got anything, committee members?
I think Michelle should read the next proclamation.
Ooh.
I'm done.
Okay, future items, replacement of Riverside boat docks.
Yep, I feel like a broken record. That's been on there for a while. Just haven't had time to really dive into that. But we do have funding in our boat launch fund to work on just buying new docks. And once I have time with Luke to really give you guys a good recommendation, we'll get that on the agenda. So for a future agenda.
Okay, you got the Monday, April 5th?
We talk about that boat launch docks. Can we involve that, the kayak launches with that?
That'll be with that conversation. Yep, exactly. And then next meeting date, I'm going to propose to you guys, if you're interested, to piggyback on Monday, April 5th, after the Board of Public Works meeting. Elections are April 6th, so this room is going to be unavailable unless you want to kick all the people out for elections, but we don't want to do that. So if you guys are okay, we'll do after Board of Public Works on the 5th.
Everybody all right with that? No? All right, anybody got anything else? Make a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion been made, second to adjourn, we're adjourned.